ਐਡਮਿੰਟਨ 'ਚ ਪੱਤਰਕਾਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋਏ ਅਲਬਰਟਾ ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰੀਮੀਅਰ ਜੇਸਨ ਕੈਨੀ ਨੇ ਸੂਬੇ 'ਚ ਆਉਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਵਿਸਥਾਪਿਤ ਯੂਕਰੇਨੀਅਨਸ ਲਈ ਨਵੇਂ ਫੰਡਿੰਗ ਦੀ ਘੋਸ਼ਣਾ ਕੀਤੀ, ਜਿਸ ਵਿੱਚ 12 ਸਾਲ ਤੋਂ ਘੱਟ ਉਮਰ ਦੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਲਈ ਬੁਨਿਆਦੀ ਜੀਵਨ ਖਰਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਪੂਰਾ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਅਸਥਾਈ ਵਿੱਤੀ ਸਹਾਇਤਾ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ-ਨਾਲ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਦੇਖਭਾਲ ਲਈ ਸਬਸਿਡੀ ਵੀ ਸ਼ਾਮਲ ਹੈ।
As we know, this terrible conflict in Ukraine is now in its fourth month of Vladimir Putin's brutal and illegal, inhumane invasion of the homeland of hundreds of thousands of Albertans. And there is a special deep connection between Alberta and Ukraine, and that is why we are proud to have opened our doors of refuge to Ukrainians fleeing the violence of that conflict. Of course, men between the ages of 18 and 65, I believe, are required to stay at home to help defend their nation, but many women and children have lost their homes, lost their families, and are seeking at least temporary shelter. And of course, we understand that thousands have already arrived in Alberta. We expect many more to come over the months to come, as this appears to be a protracted conflict. I am inspired by the courage and determination of the Ukrainian people who refuse to give up. As I've mentioned before, as Canada's Minister of National Defence, I deployed the Canadian Armed Forces to Ukraine in Operation Unifier in 2015 to help them better defend their nation, to improve the effectiveness, the operational and tactical effectiveness of the Ukrainian Armed Forces. And I want to salute the Canadian soldiers who over the past 7 years have dramatically improved Ukrainian military effectiveness. So we can sadly expect this to be a protracted conflict, and that means there will be many refugees seeking at least temporary shelter here in Canada. I always say that I hope that most of those individuals feel that they can go home when sovereignty and peace are restored. Of course, some will choose to stay in Canada, but we don't want to help Vladimir Putin depopulate Ukraine, particularly of so many of its bright young people who represent a future for the country's post-war reconstruction. But Alberta has been forward-leaning, providing more support than any other province in Canada. We have provided $2.2 million for settlement and language services delivered across the province, $1 million to the Ukraine Humanitarian Appeal of the Ukrainian Canadian Congress and the Ukrainian Canadian Foundation. We provided $5 million of support to the Ukrainian World Congress to equip 5,000 members of the Ukrainian Territorial Defense Force with defensive equipment. And we also provided $5 million to the Canada-Ukraine Foundation for additional humanitarian aid, on top of $350,000 to the UCC Alberta chapter to assist them with their settlement efforts and providing equipment for people in Ukraine.